zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let.
Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave and wishing you a happy start to your Friday, the end of the week. You made it all the way to the end of the week. It means absolutely nothing because Bitcoin's about to trade and your boy's about to go on an airplane, which for the last 3 or 4 times has meant that Bitcoin pumps about $1,000 or more, in some cases even more than that. So I suppose I will give you a fair warning that the Krown on a plane indicator is going to be going on in a few hours here. I'm going to be going over to the northern parts of Finland to hopefully see the northern lights. It's something that I've wanted to do ever since I can really remember. It's actually one of the big reasons why I first came to Finland to begin with. I always used to look up pictures online on Google Images of the northern lights. So it's a really big deal to me, and I'm really excited. But there's no promises apparently with actually seeing them. Anyways, you guys don't give a fuck about that. But I would like to. But what I would like to say is that I will be away for the weekend and have very limited connectivity to the internet. So if you're trying to reach me, I'll do my best to get back to you. But please understand that it might be a little bit of a hassle until like late Sunday, maybe even Monday. So we won't be getting back until very late. Anyways, a lot of things to talk about on Bitcoin today. Bitcoin heading down to our southern targets that we spoke about yesterday. However, the lack of action, the lack of activity that we have seen really means that we're gonna need one of those airplane indicators to go off relatively soon. Otherwise, well, we'll get into that in just a second here. Anyways, I do want to say that the Krown trading app is 100% live. However, it is not 100%. It is very basic right now. We're going to be adding more pages to it with each and every passing week. So right now it's very small, but you can get a good idea of what it's going to have. Probably fully by the end of February by just looking at the tabs on the left-hand side. There's even more than that coming and in the works, and some really exciting stuff over time. However, it's a slow process, so it's 100% free, so feel free to try it on out. Just type in your browser app.crowntrading.net, and there's also links in the description of this video, of course, as well. Other than that, I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, sorry. I apologize about the Twitch yesterday. Oh, shit. I should make an announcement about that. Yeah. The reason why I wasn't on Twitch yesterday is because we did have actually a disastrous scenario in the Discord for whatever reason. Well, not for whatever reason, but a shit ton of bots just joined the server, which caused some sort of a rumbling effect. And then 6,000 members from the Discord server got kicked off or banned, or I don't know. So if you did lose access to the Discord, you can just simply rejoin by hitting the link below. I apologize for that. I don't know why that would have happened, but yeah, it's there for you. Of course, if you're in the program, just send me a message or send a message to support@crowntrading.net, and we'll make sure that you're taken care of. Anyways, with all of that said, wishing you the best as always, and the happiest of the happiest, because why fucking not, man? I'm trying to have a smile on my face today because I'm really fucking excited. Anyways, I'm pressing that button, and I'll see you in the live stream, my friends. And there she goes, the new animations leading us right in, and starting off with something a little bit different today. GBTC leading the way, has led to the way to the downside. Well, basically over the last 2 years, we do see that GBTC kind of makes that leap first. And I thought that it would be interesting to start off with it today, because while I was kind of looking for a bounce in this region right here, which would be around where Bitcoin is right now, that 8,300-ish region, give or take about $50, you see that GBTC has actually completely just shattered it and head back down to our January 9th lows right here, which would be akin to, I think, Bitcoin below 8,000. We'll check on that in a second on spot. But I did want to start off with this because, yes, for the past 2 years, at least as far as I can remember, for all the downwards movements, GBTC typically does lead spot, whereas on the upwards movement, spot typically leads GBTC. So pick your poison here, but overall, this is a meltdown right here, and looks to me like it probably does head a little bit lower down towards the $8.60 region right in over here. After sudden, yet again, another macro lower high getting rejected by the white Krown and simple all the way through. So I would say that there is extreme caution here, and while the airplane indicator has worked for the past 3 or 4 times or whatever it's been, this would suggest that it's probably not going to be. It's probably going to be a reverse airplane, if you want to call it that. So yeah, starting off with that, and to kind of put that in perspective, our January 9th lows would be all the way over here at around, oh my God, should I say it? Bitcoin boolaws, turn your heads away, boolaws. It's going to be bad, but that would be a low of about 7650-ish region. So Fair enough. Doesn't mean that it's 100% going to happen exactly like that, but I do think that it is worth mentioning. They don't operate one-to-one, of course. The premium on GBTC does dissipate, it does, it does increase and decrease over time. So that is still very much further south than where we are right now. So, following up on yesterday's analysis, of course, we did hit our target to the downside around 8,300. As far as it is right now, this is not the reaction that I would say is indicative that this is going to be a nice low here. In fact, it looks to me like we have a little bit more room to the downside. Looking at daily offsiders, we do see daily Stokes are gaining momentum to the downside. They've broken the bullish control zone, and more importantly, they've also shattered this trend line right here. So I don't know where this trend line's coming from, maybe a different time frame perhaps we were looking at from yesterday. But overall, looking like it actually does want to come down a little bit further south. Daily RSI is, what are we doing over here? Is going to be coming a little bit further south as well. It looks like testing around the neutral zone. We do have this trend line forming around here, which would be protecting against the edge of the bearish control zone, but that would imply that we can come down a lot more than where we are right now. Of course, we did get the bearish divergence on daily RSI right here. We already hit the easy target for that at 83, but now the fun part comes. We need a bounce. Not we, but Bitcoin would more or less benefit from a bounce in this range, or is not, of course, fucking benefits from a bounce. Jesus Christ, Krown, say something worthwhile, say something of fucking value. My point is that if Bitcoin fails to bounce here, pretty much by end of day, we very likely will probably end up back down at the very least to the very low 8,000s, and perhaps even that January 9th low that we just looked at on GBTC. It is starting to line up a little bit better with that. And of course, looking at the 2-day and 3-day, we do kind of see the same sort of thing going on right here. 2-day Stokes having a fresh cross down. Not the picture of perfect 2-day RSI, a little bit of, well, not necessarily bearish divergence, but Jesus Christ, man, this pretty much is. It's about maybe a tick above, 0.5, which is nothing. I mean, it pretty much is. Losing the exponential along the way probably does come down to based upon the neutral zone, I would imagine. Not a death sentence, like I said, but would imply that we do have some more downside here to go. As volatility or historical volatility percentile is starting to once again expand from this region, which that is starting to look a little bit more and more like it does want to come down. 3-day is going to be the same thing, essentially. 3-day Stokes looks like we want to cross the downside. I think that this will confirm later tonight. Yes, it will at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And 3-day RSI, about the same thing as well. Looks like it wants to come down a little bit here. So a lot of things kind of lining up with that. And I would say that probably does bring us down to 80.50. I actually do think that we're going to get some more continuation to the downside here. Anywhere between about 8,200 to 8,200 to basically 8,000 low. I do think is that next area of interest. However, the big thing here is that, and I want to keep the greater picture in mind, the weekly yellow 20-month exponential moving average is coming in right around where? Right around 8,200-ish region. So I do think that we're going to test around there. So we probably do have another push a little bit lower. And then depending upon how we end this weekly is going to be very, 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 very insightful to how I want to position myself coming into next week. So keep in mind that CMEs will be closing for the week later tonight at, I believe, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And they're probably going to be having about the same chart over here. Yes, indeed, especially with the moving averages that are in contention right now. And the big thing with this is that ideally we want to see a big bounce before end of day, before closure, so we can get some space between this guy and we can maintain that positive slope on the yellow 21 exponential moving average. But right now it's a little bit in limbo. And while I do think that we will bounce off it on the very least on lower time frames, whoops, wrong thingy. Oh, motherfucker, what did I just do now? I think I just clicked off of something that I need. Anyways, fuck it. Fuck it. We don't need it anymore. No, my point is that if Bitcoin is going to maintain the long-term kind of good posturing here, which you can actually cut this both ways. We would expect at the very most conservatively a nice bounce before end of weekend I should say, on spot, which would be Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and preferably because CME is going to be closing for the week today, we want to see it actually today before 5 p.m. Eastern time. And for right now, longer term, Bitcoin is still on the weekly showing some signs of potential reversal in the process here. We do still see that the yellow 20-month exponential moving average does have a positive slope, and as it stands right now, Bitcoin's still above it with a couple days left to go. And that has been good enough in the past for a straight up market. Essentially, that is our upwards markets. Anytime that we have a positive slope on the yellow 21 and Bitcoin is on, on a closing basis above the 21, those are bull markets. And anytime that we have a negative slope on the 21 and Bitcoin's, essentially selling off, on top of it, those are bear markets pretty much to the T. The next big thing for that would be the 10 simple coming in right around 7650-ish region. If we can get a positive slope on that, that would add a little bit more efficacy to this. But even just in the past, the positive slope on the yellow 21 plus price action being above has been good enough for our general bullish markets. Here's the problem though. Bitcoin it's no secret that Bitcoin is still on a weekly downtrend. We have not reversed the trend at all, and we are coming at the proverbial downtrend area. Coming in all the way from our $14,000 highs in June, right on over here. That is what rejected price action alongside the white 200 simple on the daily. But going back to the weekly and kind of keeping that in mind, remember that in order to confirm a reversal, at least in my experience, you need both a higher high and a higher low coming off of a downtrend in this case. And to get a higher high here, we need to get back above 9,500. So this is why I have been exercising a lot of caution coming into this area, just because, well, it's very, very likely that we're going to pull back from it. Of course, now is the very delicate conversation of, okay, are we going to actually have a change of behavior on the weekly, confirming a weekly reversal, which, then we could probably get ready for the next half year to maybe multi-years upwards market, or are we going to continue the downtrend and probably come back down to the mid to low 7,000s? Well, I think that will all be clarified. Probably not actually this weekend. Probably coming into next week, I'd imagine. Let me put back on all major moving averages here. But basically, what I'm looking at right over here is that if Bitcoin does lose 8,200 on a daily total closing base, which it's getting really fucking close right now, man. It's only $100 away. I would look for again, assuming that it actually does close below, which it is not below right now. But if it does close today below 8,200, I would look for extension down to 77-ish region, basically that same area that we saw in GBTC, which would be somewhere around here, about 77, 7,800-ish region. Probably does have a nice bounce on the low and medium time frames there, and then I look for another leg down continuation into the mid to low 7,000s. However, I do hesitate to say that Bitcoin would continue trending to the downside from this region. I actually don't think that Bitcoin is macro bearish here. I would only really get bearish if we start closing dailies, and you're going to probably not like this answer, but below 7,200. It's not all that helpful, but I wouldn't actually mind if Bitcoin did come down all the way to this region, flattened out a little bit more, and then flipped around longer term. But of course, check out the long-term analysis playlist. There's a much more in-depth explanation on that. And today I don't really have the time to do it because I do have to make a flight in a couple of hours here. So So with that said, what you should be paying attention to is the hash ribbons on that, the hash ribbons explanation, and also the VWAP explanation as well. And that should hopefully encompass that discussion. Anyways, go check out the lower time frames. We haven't really checked out them right now. I got a very interesting comment the other day saying, Krown, why do you check out the lower time frames? They're a bunch of bullshit. Well, people are traders here, man. You can trade any time frame, really. So, you know, a lot of the times the higher time frames, they get led on by the lower time frames, of course. So that's why it's a little bit fun to check them out. But yeah, man, you know, just making conversation really. Anyways, looking at the lower time frames here, we do see that 4-hour Stochs getting way down there. So we probably are in for a nice little bouncy bounce relatively soon. But to me, it looks like we probably have another leg down first and foremost, probably down to 8,200. I do think that 8,200 will likely be officially tested. We do see that historical volatility percentile is still contracting right on over here. So we are kind of winding this baby up for a nice move, which would suggest that, you know, maybe we come down here and then I'd like to see a massive spike. Perhaps that does come in the direction of the upside. But realistically, this is getting tougher and tougher within this region. So we can actually rechart this, or let's go over here to BitMexico. So we can actually, we can keep this chart. This is actually completely fine right here. So yeah, you know, losing this sort of liquid zone territory right here in this blue box probably does align with us coming down and testing around 82, maybe even 8,100-ish region. We got the 200 exponential moving average on the 4-hour looming right around a little bit below 8,100. So that is going to be an area of interest, of course, as well. We do see that bullish divergence likely will be forming on the 4-hour RSI here. However, that would imply that we do have another strike down before anything else. We are seeing major moving averages on all the lower time frames switch around to a bearish posturing as well. So it's going to be it's going to be a very hairy situation, I'd imagine, over here. But I would like to I would like to chart out this order block that we got going on right here. This guy right here coming in right around the 200 exponential moving average on the 4 hour. This is kind of the bouncy bounce territory that I'd be looking for if Bitcoin is going to remain, more or less bullish on the medium time frames. And this is just, a pullback bro. And that would be, again, between about 81 to 8200-ish region. If Bitcoin does start to lose that, and especially if Bitcoin closes a daily below 8200, I would look for extension ultimately down coming into like next week or the week after that, down to below 8000 for very likely probably 7700, 7750, probably bounce there, and then further continuation on to the downside, maybe like 7200-ish region, maybe longer term. And this whole situation probably gets drawn out a lot more. Anyways, I'm curious how the other time frames below that are operating right now. We do see 3 hour pretty much coming in from the exact same posturing. So we are going to be due, or I shouldn't say this. I hate it when people, I hate to use that terminology, due. It's like you deserve a bounce. No, Bitcoin's likely to bounce. Probably somewhere in this region right here. The question is, how powerful will that bounce be? I obviously won't be around to look at this one in real time because I'm gonna be in the forest, man. But what I would say that if this bounce fails to get back above essentially 85, 8600, that would be considered not the best reaction. And we see the same thing on 3 hour essentially as 4 hour. So it does say that we're winding up all these lower time frames because they're all coming from the same posture. And essentially, even historical volatility percentile is doing about the same thing as well. We are expanding a little bit on the 3 hour, but usually expansion comes to the downside, actually. 3 hour RSI, bullish divergence building, but it's not quite there just yet. 2 hour, what do we have here? 2 hours looking like it's trying to form a base support. 2 hour Stoch's going to be coming down once again, so a little bit, maybe another push down, I'd say, and then I look for bounce time, and same thing with the hourly. So we can actually do these guys out just a smidgen more. We could use this last little rejection that we got right here off of this blue box territory as kind of the next, what do you want to call it, like pivot for the lower time frames. I'm going to get rid of this trend line right here because it's not all that relevant to what we're looking at right now. This target right here, no longer relevant either. Well, we've already hit it, so who gives fuck cares now. But basically, as long as Bitcoin's closing 4 hour deltas below 8400, pressure is onto the downside, and I do think that $8,200 target's going to be hit or somewhere around it, give or take a few bucks. This is getting a little bit more and more, cutting it close here, and I'm going in with the assumption that the medium time frames are going to likely hold and likely bounce it. However, if GBTC is anything to go off of, it's going to cut right fucking through, man. We're going to end up down around here, 7750, 7800 region. So yeah, ideally what you want to see today is, maybe another push down to like 8200, somewhere in this blue box right here, and then hopefully end the day above this little pivot right here at about 8450. That would be more or less okay, and set up next week for likely another push up to the upside, continuation, above 9,000, in the coming couple weeks. But right now, definitely in limbo, here. Let's go check out the 12 hour Stoch's getting way down there as well. But are they ready to bounce just yet? We don't see any pressure. We don't see any counter trend pressure just yet. 12 hour RSI is just getting into the bearish control zone for the first time in a while. Probably does bounce a little bit around here, but I would say that we're going to probably officially test the 12 hour golden cross right in over here. This is why I've been saying, though, that the 12 hour golden cross on spot is great, but what we really want to see it on is CMEs, and CMEs are nowhere near, in fact. And with price action coming down this hard in this region right here, it does kind of look like an attack on it. So this is the value in not just looking at spot, but looking at CMEs, which I think have a better to read chart. A signal on a CME chart is gonna way more likely play out than a signal on spot chart. And in this case right here, we do see that coming down at this angle right now, as these guys are essentially going parallel to each other, is probably not going to happen unless we have a phenomenal bounce, in the next few days. Which this one's obviously not trading over the weekend, but you do see that. It's not looking all that hot. Usually when you see something like this, where the major movement efforts are kind of like brought together and almost giving you the hopefulness of a golden cross, and again I'm referring to the green 55 and the purple 200. and it gets attacked at the last second, that is a fake out, and typically you will run the other way quite a bit. So I do think that that's worthwhile to kind of stress at this point, just because, well, this isn't the most healthy price action right here. Looking at a daily, I'm curious if we have anything coming in. Yes, we do have the daily 21 exponential moving average coming in right around about 8,200, and we do see that spot and CMEs are trading almost parity right now, maybe about $10 premium on CMEs. We do have only a little bit less than a week, I think, now until CME's expiration, so it's next Friday. So actually just about a week now. So to me, that, you know, this would say that not only do we have bearish divergence on daily RSI for CMEs, but it would suggest that we probably do have a target for this, you know, for this next leg down still to be met somewhere around 8,200, which would put spot maybe a little bit below that. So I do think that we're going to, you know, take another leg lower here. The question is, how is the reaction off that region? Remember, 8,200 is not too problematic just yet, but when Bitcoin starts closing daily dollars below 8,200, that's when it is problematic, because we will have, well, we'll quite literally be in a downtrend on the daily. We do have a lower high right here. Well, we technically, well, do we have a lower low already? Kind of, yes, but I would say that below this area, there's no more excuses to be made for Bitcoin's price action. We are in a downtrend once again on a daily, and if that does happen, if that does confirm itself, I would look ultimately for a move at the very least into the mid 7,000s and lower than that over time. Again, not going to happen at the snap of fingers, but over time, yes, I probably would be looking for something like that to happen. But I still want to be very, very much clear in stating this. I don't really consider Bitcoin bearish as long as we are above essentially like 7,000 or even 7,200, really, for that matter. So we can come all the way back down there, you know, over the next like month or so and base out once again. And it's very reminiscent of what we've seen back over here in 2018. You do see that Bitcoin, from a major moving average perspective, which I put probably the most weight on for long-term price analysis, is, well, I'll just kind of lay it out right here. And we've had the same sort of overlay of these, of this, and same sort of reaction from this. Definitely go verify yourself, but I'll just focus on this one right here because we can get it all in the same picture, and that makes it easier to look at. But basically, Bitcoin has a very similar setup over here as what we have running over here. Again, not a fractal, but when you have moving averages to kind of base and relate price action to, you can come up with a standardization which does offer up an edge over time. That's completely different than fractal, just saying that, oh, this looks like this and that looks like that, so we go over here. It's like, go fuck yourself. No, just kidding, but you are a squirrel. Anyways, fair enough. I don't know anyone who trades off fractals and like is a professional trader, makes a shit ton of money. I'll put it that way. Maybe there's some out there. There's probably are some. Throw them my way, man. I'd be happy to speak with them. But looking at this right over here, Bitcoin gets rejected by the 200 simple on an overall downtrend. White moving average right here, overall downtrend right here, coming in from parabolic highs. Bitcoin gets rejected by the 200 simple. Again, not a fractal, it's not exact, but you do see that Bitcoin fails along it. Then all major moving averages bunch up right here. Same thing right here. We get the death cross between the green and the purple right here. Same thing right here, death cross. Then we get all lower periods below higher periods right here with the cyan and the purple. Boom, same thing right on over here. Then we get all major moving averages with a negative slope after that, and same thing over here. Then Bitcoin's trending below the yellow 20 exponential moving average this whole way down, and it's not until we actually regain it that Bitcoin launches a massive attack towards the white 200 simple right here, actually off of an inverted head and shoulders. Very similar price action right over here. Boom, 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 boom. We're trending as long as we are below the yellow 21 right there. Bitcoin puts in a descending brawny wedge on the bottom. Another accumulation reversal formation. And what happens? We get launched up towards the white 200 simple. Not only that, but if we put on our trend lines, you do see that this white 200 simple very much consistent with this long-term downtrend coming in from our January highs in 2018. Rejecting price action the whole way through. Well, same thing over here, and this is why I use bodies rather than wicks, because if you've been using wicks, you've been saying that Bitcoin's already broken out, and well, it's time to get super fucking bullish. However, if you're using bodies right over here, you do see that we actually have not broken it at all, and it is pretty much synonymous with the white 200 simple right here as well. Also, kind of around the 382 Fibonacci retracement. I'm sure that if we threw on the volume profile, it'd probably show some sort of activity around there as well. Anyways, my point is that after that rejection, we do come all the way back down around the lows. We don't actually make new lows off this, but that can very well happen, especially if this weekly close is not good for Bitcoin, or even daily below 8,200, I believe, on a closure. I wouldn't put it past it to come all the way back down to the low 7,000 region. So that's essentially what I'm looking at right now. Assuming that this reaction over here is a little bit lackluster as of right now. It is very much lackluster. So again, it's kind of a shame that I have to do this video a little bit early in the morning, because I feel like by end of day today we'd have a lot more clarity. If I was doing like a Twitch stream later, we'd probably be able to see what this is going to look like coming into the weekly close. But right now it's kind of in limbo. Of course, we can have Bitcoin, Bitcoin pumping up like $300 from here, $200 from here is not all that crazy, and that would completely change around the structure. By the same token, Bitcoin breaking south here would we'd be able to see that as well, and that would provide clarity on the situation to the other side. Let's go check out the other altcoins, which might be a good indication of what the overall market's doing. Mr. Buterol, kind of looks a little bit bouncy in this region. However, is it just a low time frame bounce? Yeah, I do think so, and I do think that it probably heads a little bit lower. If Bitcoin takes that next leg to the downside, I'd look for Mr. Buterol at 155, 154. Litecoin losing a little bit more. In fact, leading the downside right here, kind of already hit the same area that I'd be looking for on Bitcoin. In fact, so is Litecoin leading the market right now? Perhaps yes. Yeah, it'd be getting back down to this last little power breakout right here, and it is bouncing from it right now. So perhaps look to Litecoin to be a little bit of a harbinger of what's to come. And I'd say that Litecoin's okay as long as it's not closing higher time frames below like $51. What else do we have? Monero maybe for a second here. Do you have to keep in mind the time going on right now? Yeah, I would be looking for a bounce somewhere right around 58 and a quarter. Kind of already there right now, so it's kind of like a do or die situation. And remember, when I talk about these bounce areas, and XRP kind of same thing, it's in that same area. It doesn't mean that it's 100% guaranteed to bounce around. And I feel a little bit guilty over the last couple of weeks because, and I want to choose my words carefully here because I don't want to use the words calls, but my analysis has been, and I don't mean to say this sound arrogant, but has been pretty spot on as far as pivots go, and in my opinion on those as well. It's not always going to be that way. Remember, I'm just going off of a statistical setup that over time I know is more or less going to work out in my favor, but it just offers up an edge is all it is. So I'm going to be wrong at some time. So please do not take anything that I say as as the end all be all. It's not. Whenever I'm talking about pivot points, it's only that because it's only a pivot point because it offers up a nice edge on that region, which means that there is going to be some sort of some sort of a statistical chance that I'm going to be wrong, and it's just a matter of time before I am. So this could very well be it. I still like this area right here, 8,200 to 8,300. However, I like that area because I know that if we actually break it, we have a change of behavior once again on the daily, and we're going to head much lower. So that's what I'd be saying right in over here. Anyways, okay, cool. So yeah, it looks like most alts to me are kind of in a bounce area, and well, I didn't check them all out. Well, Zcash looks like one's come down a little bit further, set 44 and 3/4. Bcash, what about him? Bounce territory right here. So yeah, the market's going to move together. Whatever Bitcoin does, the alts are likely going to mirror and follow. Okay, cool. Let's go check out traditional markets really quick. We got new all-time highs. Wait, no, we don't have new all-time highs, but we do have another bounce. We did hit our downside target at 329, bouncing up pretty nicely there. And the market that never goes down, man. This is great, man. This is fucking great. It is kind of interesting because one of the traders that I really respect is actually looking for a nice correction relatively soon in like this next 2-week period for traditional markets. So I do have that in the back of my mind, but I think that we kind of just saw, this is a pretty good reaction right here. We did hit our target and then back up. I'm not really bearish on traditional markets. Like, bearish is not the right term. I'm not even looking for like a legitimate longer term pullback as long as we're above, especially like 325 now. It just gets marched up and up with each and every passing day, it seems like. Powerful markets, and we do got the monthly ending relatively soon, and the monthly is going to be ending strong, so or assumedly strong. So even if we did pull back into like 325 or even 320 coming into next month, I'd actually be looking at that as likely an opportunity before further continuation on to the upside. I would still think that monthly RSI is the key here, gets the long-term trend very, very well, and we broke this ascending Brownian wedge to the upside and probably do work our way back up to the critical zone, at least test it. And I really want to see, on an actual top for traditional markets, I want to see volatility, historic volatility percentile get very low, very, very low. And you can see that that's going to take time. We are cooling off here, of course, but it's going to take its time most likely. And then once it gets very low, that's when I'd probably be looking for a longer term reversal. Anyways, let's go check out some forex over here. What do we see? Dollar yen. We did hit. Oh wow, we actually exceeded our downside target. I think I said 109. No, sorry, we didn't meet it exactly, but 109 spot 2, close enough. It's close enough for me. I do think that it swipes this area once again. Still kind of holding this this rising channel right here. I don't really have a strong opinion on it. We can come all the way back down to like 109, a little bit below 109 even, probably bounce around there. That's what I'd be looking for. But longer term, I don't think it's actually terrible. I think it's actually okay, most likely. The weekly is the weekly probably bounces here. In fact, if the weekly closes above 109 spot 7, essentially above the white 200 symbol, I'd be looking for another test to the upside. And I do think that's actually more likely to happen. I don't think that this is another local high here, but that's just my opinion. Pound yen maintaining the 200 simple valiantly as well, and I do think that if it does confirm that a little bit later today with the closure, and I think that it's constructive here. It's kind of like walking its way up. I do think that we're going to probably swipe this prior high right here, 146, and probably beyond over time. Gold doing exactly what we said, holding the range, and I do think that this is constructive. I do think that's going to give another test to the top side of the range, 1575, a break above there. I'd look for a move up here, over the next coming weeks. I don't know if it's ready just yet. Oscillators are looking okay here, but I'd give it some time. I still want to see that area taken out fully and formally. Euro dollar heading down to our 110 target. I think it still has a little bit more here to go. Breaking down fully now, and weekly is going to close on a pretty sour note. And I do think, I'd still say 110, maybe even as far as like 109 spot 7 region. Could be. I do think some more downside there as well. Anyways, I think that pretty much covers it up for that. I'll briefly go over Bitcoin right around here. Once again, a nice 30-minute video. So we are at a pivotal moment right now. If the Boolahs are going to take care of this, if the Boolahs are going to start chanting and make me a believer, a Boolever, a Boolah-ever, fucking goddamn it. So stupid. I really want to see a bounce pretty much anywhere between where we are right now and 8,200. That is critical. Any sort of a daily little close below 8,200, and I will be a medium term bearer. I'll be a bearer medium term and probably look for price action to come back down at the very least to 7750 relatively quickly, and then I'll probably look for extension down into the mid to low 7,000s over the coming weeks. But like I said, it's a little bit of a shame that I won't be able to watch all that closely later today because I'll be in the forest. But hey, essentially what I'll be looking for here again to kind of like wrap it up, maybe another wick down to test around 8,200 even, and then if the Boolahs are going to hold it up, I'd expect a nice bounce there, and hopefully closing it at the very least above like 8,300 for weekly on CMEs today. But other than that, it's just we don't really have enough information as it stands right now. It's kind of like the do or die moment for these next like 24 hours or a little bit less than 24-hour trading period. So I would keep an eye on that, and of course this is coming in very, 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 very hot right now. So higher time frames still have more momentum to be gained. Lower time frames are pretty cooked here a little bit. Well, pretty cooked here, I should say, not just a little bit, but so it's kind of a hairy situation. Do we get a nice bounce over the weekend, which is actually going to be more indicative of continuation to the downside coming into next week? Maybe. So again, I'll probably do a video tomorrow morning, assuming that I do have connectivity to the internet. But for right now, the critical point for me as far as the macro goes is the weekly. As long as the 21 holds on the weekly, I do have what's it called? Hope there. There's hope for continuation from this region sooner rather than later. But as it stands, we've pretty much got our test down. About $50 off. That's close enough. I'd really want to see a nice bounce here sooner rather than later. Especially if today's daily were to somehow to close above like 8,600, that would look very good for coming into the weekend and probably continuation back up to the upside coming into next week. But as far as this goes, and I didn't really talk about the lower time frame pivots. Lower time frame pivots are pretty much as follows. This area that we're kind of in right now and breaking down from, encompassing 8350 to 84. As long as we're below 84, there's no real threat of an upside bounce here. Does look to me like we want to come down and swipe the lows once again right around here. Hard to get like hard to get bullish for a continuation of like 9,500 as long as we're below the last prior high, or even just below the daily 200, which is essentially a little bit below, actually about 89.50 now. 89.50 is a big pivot now, it looks like to me. As far as the medium time frame and longer term time frame upside goes, as long as you're below there, still under pressure, still kind of maintaining the downtrend. And realistically, with all that said, I don't feel like this was too much helpful. I feel like we need to see more price action unravel itself. But yeah, any sort of a 4-hour total close below, let's call it like 80.50. I would say that would be the earliest time where I'd really start to look for, that sort of fall through to the downside. Realistically, though, I'd really want to be operating off of a daily at this price point, just because the lower timeframes can be deceiving. Lower timeframes, like I've said, are showing that they are kind of losing momentum within this region. But do we get another push down first before anything else? I think that's possible, and I would be looking for a pity, at the very least a pity bounce around 8,200, regardless of that. But the question is how, where do we end the day out? Do we end the day above or below the 21? If we ended above, hope it's still there. If we ended below, well, below 8200 is really where the problems arise for the medium term. So we're kind of in a tight spot here. Doesn't really make sense to get excited for the upside as long as we're below about 89.50ish region. Also the daily 200 simple, and right now we're quite literally right in the middle of that. Oh shit! I forgot to check out expected moves chart. We do see that the first deviation is actually encompassing the region all the way down to about 80.50, and top side showing 8,600. So is showing that we definitely have a lot more pressure to the downside than the upside. This one would actually suggest that we do get a wick further down than what I'm talking about right now. In fact, making that relationship between spot and GBTC once again, that would actually kind of put us down around the second standard deviation. Funnily enough, around 78.50. I would say that that's a less than 2.5% chance to happen today, but in the cards. So yeah, other than that, man, I'm not really getting too much off this. I do apologize. Uh-oh, you okay with it? Else has found something. Anyways, I think that's probably going to do it for right now. I feel like I'm missing something massive here. What am I missing? I suppose if I had to wrap up my thoughts, yeah, I do think that we get another push down to like 82. If the bounce from 82 basically fails to get back above like 85, 86 in this next like few days of price action, probably lower over time. And of course, if we get a daily total closing anywhere below 8,200, I would look for further continuation to the downside, well below 8,000 over time. Anyways, that's going to do it for right now. I'll be signing off. I would like to wish you well once again, and until next time.